This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
The championship draws to a close today at the Watkins Glen International Circuit. A comfortable series lead for Abner Acosta. Can he keep his cool and bring it home? Or is there going to be a late twist to this edition of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series? Watkins Glen Circuit is a great place for GTE racing, with plenty of real-world action there, such as Blank Plane GT Series, of course now known as GT World Series. This is SimRacing, where the racing is often much closer than its real-world counterpart. Just how much closer will it get today? Let's find out as we get ready to go green on the global SimRacing channel. My name is Ryan Jones, alongside me in the booth is Sam Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peake, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And let's dive down and take a look at this New York State track with our GSRC track guide.
Won IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
That was your Global Sim Racing Channel track guide of the Watkins Glen International Circuit. And let's go over to Sam for another look at some of the quirks of this circuit.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. One thing every viewer wants to know when we come to Watkins Glen is what kind of configuration are we racing on? Well, we're racing on the more complicated, more technical one, if there is such a thing at Watkins Glen. This is the boot configuration, and it also has the inner loop, so plenty of turns for these cars to navigate. But that doesn't mean we're not still going to see some close racing. The long straights around here, really, from the start finish straight all the way down towards the inner loop, create some great passing opportunities, draft battles, and it isn't unusual to have surprises around here at Watkins Glen. We could have an underdog victor, even if our championship battle is looking pretty well sealed up, and we'll get to that in just a few moments.
Before then, we got to thank our sponsors that make all of this possible. As always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams. Consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. And today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team, the team's championship, will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebutkicker.com. And so, let's take a look at that championship. I said in the intro, potentially the possibility of late twists in the title fight. Looks like we've already got one, Sam, because Christian Isa, the only man still in mathematical contention, nowhere to be seen at the moment in this race server, which means all Abner Acosta has to do is just come across that start-finish line at a leisurely pace. The battle for P4 is still pretty hot there. Carl Modov and Ignacio Fredes separated by just 4 points. So that's probably going to be the battle to watch today, although as I mentioned that, Carl Modov, interestingly, is in a BMW today. And not his usual car choice of the Ford, which will incur a points penalty for him. So Fredes looking good for that 4th place. And the team's championship as well. It's all wrapped up for Punto CL Racing Blue. 119-point buffer back to 2nd place, RSR eSports. Pretty close for 2nd between RSR and GTR SimSport, just 6 points separating them. SRT eSport Blue sitting there in 4th pretty comfortably ahead of GTR SimSport Blue. They are your championship standings. And Sam, what about the race details for today's race?
Yeah, well, we're getting set for the final round of the season here, round 10 of 10. The drivers do get 1 drop weeks, but I don't think that's really going to help isolate against Acosta there. We have 4 different GT cars, but it is not 4 different GT races. They are all racing each other, and as you mentioned, though, if you switch a car during the season, you do incur points penalty. Some drivers choosing not to concern themselves with that, knowing it's the last round. Maybe they've already lost a battle, lost out, or won the battle that they were hoping to win in the championship, and they just want to have fun out here today, and who can blame them? Watkins Glen is a fun track. Open setup, so some drivers might be running a little less wind today to get them down the straights a bit quicker than their opponents. If you get 20 incident points, you will disappear and be disqualified from the race. And you get a bonus point for fastest lap, a bonus point for pole, and a bonus point for running a relatively clean race. The driver looking to take that bonus point for pole right now is Carl Modov, so I guess he is trying to limit the amount of points he's going to lose from taking that penalty.
Indeed, and another reason why we're probably seeing Modov here in a BMW, maybe already looking ahead to Season 2 of 2020, and trying to get a leg up and test out which car may be the best one to go for that series. We know he's going to be a championship contender no matter what he drives in this series, but you've got to make sure you give yourself the best possible opportunity And with this one already gone in terms of winning the title, why not try and get an advantage for Season 2? And he's got 0.3 of a second advantage at the moment in qualifying. Abner Acosta sat second.
Yeah, that's definitely possible there, Ryan. The only thing I'll say to counter that is that I don't know how great of a proving ground Watkins Glen is. If you want to test out a new circuit, it's not exactly your average road course. A lot of fast speeds around here. The turns are kind of easy, kind of flowing. Don't get me wrong, it creates some great racing. It's fun to watch. It's fun to drive. It just might not be the best representative of how this car is going to feel for a full season next year.
Well, let's see how it goes from today then. Horatio Calquin currently on his 4th lap of qualifying. He is currently 3rd, 0.9 of a second adrift of Carl Modoff up front. He's coming through turn number 9 now, making his way into turn number 10. And interesting, pretty long track, 5.4 kilometers, 3.4 miles, but only 11 corners listed on the official track map, and the inner loop not really being counted as a corner for some strange reason, as he comes across the line and goes a 10th slower than his previous best, so he doesn't improve.
Yeah, I feel a lot of turns kind of get known around here. You can kind of just refer to them as turn 1, the S's, the inner loop, the carousel, the boot, the really, really annoying left-hander that leads you out of a boot, and then the final couple of corners around here. As you just saw one driver struggling with that aforementioned left-hander just a couple moments ago. You see the clock in the top left corner counting down the final moments of qualifying, and as you mentioned, Carl Modoff has a 0.2 of a second advantage over Abner Costa here. We have a 1 hour race scheduled. These lap times taking about 1 minute 40 seconds. It's telling you we'll see just a little bit under 40 laps raced here today. And I believe all these drivers have to make one pit stop unless I'm mistaken there. Got about a field of 30, I think a tick over 30 cars, yeah. So we're going to be lined up for a good finale here, Ryan. A lot of series on iRacing, a lot of leagues that maybe aren't as we see Acosta go to the pole. So there we go, and that's only by a couple of hundredths a second. But what I was going to say is a lot of series that aren't as well established or run as PRL. You'll see the number of drivers kind of trickle down throughout the season, but to see a full field of 30 cars here for the final race, it tells you how much fun these drivers have coming out here and putting on these shows.
Most certainly a ringing endorsement for the series there, as Horatio Calquin finally finds an improvement, 41.747, still 0.8 adrift of the top 2, who are separated by, as you mentioned, 28 thousandths of a second, just over 200ths of a second there. And yeah, this left-hander you mentioned, turn 9, it's incredibly tricky because apart from the fact that it changes words. I've lost my ability to speak there, Sam. It changes camber, it comes over a crest as well. The car gets unloaded very easily, and the exit of the corner, the outside of the track, comes up deceptively quickly as well. It's got all the recipes for a really, really annoying corner that probably one of the trickiest in the track, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely say that as easy as this course generally feels, that's definitely the curveball they kind of throw at you. I guess it's like that with all racetracks, isn't it? The Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps over in Belgium. Hold on, we just had someone go purple there. Abner Costa found another a few hundredths. He now sits exactly 1/10 of a second ahead of Carl Modoff. But we've still got a few minutes left on the clock, plus some extra time for drivers who will still be running a lap. And we're talking about Abner Costa and Carl Modoff a little bit here, but I think we should keep an eye on the drivers behind them, Ryan, because you never know what's going to happen here at Watkins Glen. And maybe this could be a race where Horatio Calquin, Justin Ream, or Andres Espinosa, Tyler Dazube, they're rounding out the top 3 rows right now. And any one of them could be a contender for the win, especially given the drafting battles we have at this circuit.
Indeed, at 4th place, Justin Rem, massive improvement, 1 minute 41.8, found 1.1 seconds on his previous fastest in the session, which had him back in around 20th place. So big improvement for him. Maybe a sign of the track just improving a little bit here later on in the session, or maybe he just hooked up that lap beautifully. Currently a 10th off for 3rd place ratio, Cal Queen, who we are watching, making his way through and up the S's. Track conditions at the moment, as you can see on screen, track temp 83 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 degrees Celsius, so pretty grippy out there actually. Not too much of a hot condition, partly cloudy too, so a bit of cloud cover to help them. Of course, when the sun is beating down on the track, it does create a very slick surface, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the other thing that's not pulled up on the graphic there, well, we got that. There's a strong wind pulled up on the graphic there. But one thing our viewers can't see is that it's actually very early in the day as far as iRacing is concerned. It's about 9 a.m. And granted, it's a 1-hour race, so it's not going to be blazingly hot in the afternoon, A, because it's New York, but B, because this race will be over by about 11 a.m. virtual standard time. And so, you know, the track temperature will remain relatively cool, but it's going to warm up. Obviously, these 30 cars are going to lay some rubber down. But those early laps, you're going to have to be a little bit careful, I think, all of these drivers, because they're getting used out here right now in qualifying. They're getting used to these tyres being up to temperature. Well, they're going to be stone cold once again at the start of a race. And no matter what track you're on, no matter which car you're in, iRacing or real world, that can create some complications on the opening lap.
It can. We're watching the mode off now across the start-finish line, 1 minute 42.0. So a banker lap there. Going to get one more attempt in after the checkered flag. And I think he was just setting himself up for this lap too. So this should be an interesting one to watch here. We'll see whether he can find that 10th of a second. James LeBlanc, further back, currently 21st position. Coming towards the start-finish stripe. Can he find an improvement late on in the session? 42.843. Matches his previous best pretty much, won't improve. Andreas Espinoza, 41.806, doesn't improve on that lap time either. And, very tricky to find the last couple of tenths of a second when you've maxed out your car already in the session. Ignacio Portal, what can he do? Currently sat in 9th place. Oh, he's out into the grass, and that's going to invalidate that lap time for him. It was. I won't be able to see because it was invalidated, of course. And so he'll stay 9th. Ken Huber behind him won't improve on his lap either. Or he does improve, sorry. Improves by a 10th of a second. Puts himself up into 16th. Tyler Tazube back in 6th. Finds the water barrels. Won't be an improvement for him. There's Carl Modoff. Carl Modoff's not on the track anymore, so he won't improve. Fredes coming through the final corner. One of the final drivers to set down a marker in the session. 1 minute 42.241 to beat. Does a 1 minute 42.768. Won't improve. Half a second off.
Yeah, only got 2 cars left out there. The checkered flag is flying, and it's Kenny Rodriguez and David Duino, and they're both on track together. So that's not an effective way to try and improve your lap time unless they're trying to draft off each other. Granted, Kenny Rodriguez is quite far down there in the order, down in 25th, so he's going to have a little bit of work cut out for him, but that is going to wrap up qualifying here at Watkins Glen with Abner Costa as your pole sitter.
Let's take a look then at how they line up here for the season finale of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. As you mentioned, Abner Acosta sits on pole. Carl Modoff alongside him in 2nd place. Justin Rem starts from 3rd. With Horatio Calquin joining him on the 2nd row of the grid. Andres Espinoza starts from 5th with Tyler Dazubi in 6th. Anthony Pisano and Caleb John Lavender on the 4th row of the grid. The top 10 rounded out by Ignacio Hortel and Ted Lowendyke.
Yeah, behind him we have Billy Jansen starting in 11th. Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes will be starting from 12th place ahead of Christopher Pfeffer, who was 6/10 of a second what he did in qualifying. So I don't know if he just got lucky in practice rather. Sean Romig 14th, rounding out row 7, and then we have John-Marc Tremblay and Ken Hubert in 16th place. David Duino starts 17th ahead of Trace Mundy. Robert Elder and Sean Duhamel round out the top 20.
21st, James LeBlanc with Brett Thurman starting from 22nd. 23rd belongs to Christopher Albright with Jeff Corello alongside him. Kenny Rodriguez and James Hebb off the 13th row of the group, Donald Olsen and Spencer Sikowicz behind them. Rest of the field rounded out by Jay Seffi and I believe Gary Schilling will take to the grid. Christian Eisler will not appear in the race, unfortunately, which means as long as Abner Acosta comes across the start-finish line to begin this race, I believe he might have already wrapped it up already. He's won this championship, and he can just come out and enjoy himself in this race. There's no pressure on him anymore.
Yeah, well, I think a deciding factor, honestly, was when iRacing switched over from the qualifying to the race session. That means, oh no, wait, Christian Eisler can still join the session, can't he? Because he has signed in. So, if everyone wrecks on lap number 1 and Christian Eisler signs in before the session ends and completes 2 laps, then he could still win the championship. So we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, we'll wait and see indeed. Of course, a rolling start for this one. So they've got to complete a full lap behind the pace car here. Don't get the luxury of lining up closer to the back of the circuit like they do on some of the slightly longer tracks. Yes, it's probably right on the cusp of being one of those tracks where they could line up and not do a full lap. It does give us some more time to dissect some things. And Christopher Pfeffer then, you mentioned as we read through the grid, a big disparity between his practice and qualifying time, 6/10 of a second the difference for him. It shows he only got 1 lap in qualifying. Every other lap was invalidated. It shows how tough it is to actually get a lap in qualifying.
Yeah, because had Pfeffer matched his time from practice, he'd be starting 3rd on the grid. And actually, we need to make a note of that. There is over half a second between 2nd and 3rd on the grid. So normally, you would think, oh wow, Abner Acosta and Carl Modoff are going to run away with it then. But again, Watkins Glen, even with all these extra turns thrown in, the draft, the slipstream is the name of the game here. And until those 2 drivers are able to break that, which they might be able to do, but until they do, we might have an exciting race here up front. Unfortunately for the drivers at the back, it could be exciting for other reasons. These close walls down the back straight here, we have seen plenty of big wrecks in the past, pile-ups before they get to the inner loop. Hopefully we won't see that today, but the drivers at the back of the field will especially be hoping not, because it's kind of a narrow track when it boils down to it and can get clogged up very quickly.
Well, the run through the S's, turns 2, 3 and 4, probably the biggest trouble spot of the circuit, right ahead of the entry to the inner loop or the bus stop. There's many people might know it from NASCAR. That's how I know it is the bus stop. But it's almost like a street circuit through the S's. No runoff whatsoever. If you make a mistake, you're in the fence, and you're going to bounce back out onto the racing line. There's nowhere for anyone to go. If there's a crash there, the front half of the field, it turns into a massive incident very, very quickly. So you've always got to be a little bit careful through there. Just be prepared to give a little bit more than you take as you head uphill. A little bit of an uphill run through the S's too. The track has quite a bit of elevation change, which definitely assists in some of the racing too. And it's always good when a track's got a bit of an elevation difference. It does seem to produce better racing than just a flat track.
But I will only ever acknowledge one bus stop, and that is at the old Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Everything else isn't in the loop.
Yeah. Certainly. So, almost completed our pace lap here. And I'm sure Carmodov will get himself back alongside Abner Acosta in a moment's time. Acosta will, of course, line himself up on that inside line for turn 1. See whether Justin Rem can get ahead of Carmodov in there as well. Horatio Calquin, Espinoza. Is anyone going to be able to split up these two drivers that have a big margin in qualifying, or is Acosta and Modov going to have it all their way as we come out of the final corner? The pace car will get down out of the way, and the field will be left in the hands of Abner Acosta as we head up the main straight. Green flag in the air, and Acosta jumps on that throttle. Modov immediately pulls in behind him as we run down to turn number 1, side by side between Calquin and Rem. Calquin going deep on the outside. In fact, Tyler Dubé a little bit too deep and lose out to Andres Espinoza as we head up through the S and the trucks fire themselves out now as most of the videos go through turn 1 relatively cleanly.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by Acosta's start there. He had pulled back a little bit of a pace car. I thought he was going to try and get on the gas early, try and catch the rest of the field off guard, but actually waited very late, and as a result, they're still tight up front, and it's not Abner Acosta's race. Kudos to the field for getting through turn 1 cleanly. That's kind of difficult to do at Watkins Glen, no matter what car you're in, but still the field tightly packed as they work their way now coming down into the boot.
A mistake from Justin Rem heading through the inner loop, almost lost a spot to Andre Espinoza through the outer loop. That long, never-ending right-hander. He's just managed to pull a bit of a gap now and get himself into a more comfortable position, but not out of the woods just yet. As everyone single file, Christopher Pfeffer side by side trying to go up the inside of Billy Jansen here for P10. Oh, Pfeffer just drifted up the track a little bit to the middle of that corner and lost his advantage, and Jansen will hold on through the very tricky left-hander. Pfeffer very wide through there and loses out a lot of ground as a result. Very tricky to go side by side through turn 9. That happens a lot. The car on the outside just gets sucked further and further away from the racing line.
Yeah, and Feather is one driver you think you would thought would be trying to come through the field, considering the fact he's normally, I think, a bit further up towards the front, but just shows you how difficult it is to kind of get an advantage of the rest of your competition here at Watkins Glen, given that the track difficulty isn't the highest and the draft is one of the strongest, and so it becomes not necessarily a crapshoot because driver talent still gets you to the front of the field here at Watkins Glen, but it makes it a lot more exciting and hard to make up positions at times, although some drivers have done a good job of that. Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes has already gone from 12th to 10th on the opening lap. Good
lap from him then to get himself underway. Caleb John Lavender starting to apply the heat to the back of the 7th place man, Anthony Pisano. Both of these guys running around in the Ferrari, so their cars will be handling pretty much the same. Well, the same traits about them anyway, and the setup with them making the difference, along with the driver talent. As Pisano exits turn 7 pretty smoothly using all of the racetrack. Very easy to catch the grass on the outside of the track, or get on the throttle too early and spin down to the inside. Turn 7, another one of the trickier corners on this racetrack. You don't normally see too many incidents there. You generally get a rhythm through there going by the time you get to the race after practice and qualifying. So this battle for about P7 is pretty tight between a number of cars, going all the way back to about 14th place, all line astern.
Yeah, but this isn't really the... Oh, we've got one car in pits right now. The 81 car of Trace Steffi is already there. In fact, Rob Eld and Christopher Albright already showing a lap down, so don't know if they had a multi-car coming together on the opening lap, but we may have missed. No problems as such for the drivers up front. I was saying a couple of turns ago, you don't really want to make a move there because then you're just going to compromise your run up these long straights. Well, here they go. They're going up along straight 8s now, so this is where you're going to see most of the passing. And if you're ever at Watkins Glen one day and have a deck chair, I would pull it right up to the inner loop because you're going to see some nice moves happening there. However, none this lap. All of the drivers holding station for now.
No, I'll just book a ticket to New York. Should set me back about $2,000 and I'll be there on the back straight with a deck chair. One day. It's on the bucket list there, Sam. Have you had the privilege of pulling a deck chair up to the Watkins Glen circuit?
No, I've not been to Watkins Glen yet, but there is an old clip that our fans should watch if they haven't seen it before, where once a NASCAR fan managed to find his way over through security and over the wall and tried to get an autograph from a driver as he was sitting in his car under the red flag here. So very accessible here at Watkins Glen for the fans to the drivers. However, I definitely would not recommend doing that. One thing I would recommend... Oh, we got trouble here.
Chase Mundy. I know Chase Mundy had a spin. I believe this is him through the bus stop.
Yeah, it looks like the fact that it happened on the inside of the exit of this left-hander here, I think he might have got away with it okay. He wouldn't have been carrying a lot of speed because he would have been slowed down for that apex long skid. Oh, but he gets hit. He gets a pretty big clobber from the back, so he didn't hit the wall that hard, but he did have contact from another car.
Might upset the handling of that machine a little bit.
Oh,
I've just noticed as well, the battle for the lead is closing up between Kyle Modoff and Abner Costa. There we go. Yeah, Modoff has closed in to within about half a second of Acosta, so starting to reel himself back up to the rear bumper. Of course, Modoff running around on that VW, which was not a mistake. He was talking about it before the race, that it was an intentional decision. So definitely just trying something out, I suppose, and seeing how it handles maybe in a full racing environment. Because being comfortable in the car you've chosen is half the battle in a multi-car series like this.
Yeah, that might have not been a mistake, but one driver who did make a mistake this lap was Ignacio Rodriguez-Fredes. He was running 10th. He went off at the inner loop, an unforced error, slid through the gravel, dropped him down to 17th. He's working his way back up through the field now. And also in this camera shot, we found one of the cars that got involved in a bit of argy-bargy a couple laps ago. The 77 of James Hebb is missing the whole front clip on his car, but it seems to still be running around okay.
Yeah, he'll be pretty happy about that. And who needs a front bumper anyway? All it's doing is just giving some... they'll be getting some extra cooling into that engine. Won't have to worry about engine temps for the rest of this race. And I think while he's tucked up behind that car in front, the slipstream's probably pulling him along just a little bit. And no air actually going to the front of that car, and it's all going over the rear wing of the preceding car and over the top of his. As out front, the battle has closed down even more. What were you going to say, sorry, Sam?
Yep, exactly that. I feel that we need to go back up to the battle up front because Kyle Modoff is very close to Abner Costa. However, again, we're in the twistier part of the circuit now, so I almost wonder if Modoff might wait another half a lap and see if he can make anything happen on the main straight.
So you think the main straight, what's the best spot here for Modoff? And what's the best strategy actually for Modoff? Because we know they have to pit at some stage in this race. Does he sit behind Acosta here? Maybe try and save a little bit of fuel? Does he try to get by him and open up a gap before the pit stop phase? What's the best plan of action now for Modoff? Because it definitely seems as if he's the one with a better pace right now.
Yeah, well, I think I think saving gas is definitely something to be said for that. However, I think if I was Kyle Modoff, I would want to see what kind of runs I can get on Acosta. I would want to, maybe even if he's not thinking about passing him, I would like to know how well does my 948 machine suck up to the rear bump of his number 5 car. Is he carrying more wind than me? Is he carrying less wind than me? He might want to try and work out here what his strengths and weaknesses are in case they get involved in the battle later. And I must say, he's got a pretty good run on the straight. He's not doing anything with it. But if that was the final lap, I think they may have gone side by side into the inner loop here. It looks like Kyle Modoff does have some speed in that car.
And the third place man, Horatio Calquin, also coming under a bit of pressure from Justin Rem. And these two are only 4.3 seconds off the lead of the race, so if Acosta and Modoff were to start battling, it wouldn't be out of the question to see these two start to reel them in and close up and potentially turn it into a four-way battle.
Yeah, that's not a big gap right now, 4 seconds, but the thing is, we're only 5 laps completed, so that's almost a second a lap. The top two are pulling away from these two, so yes, you're right, if the top two start battling, Horatio and Justin could run them both down, but if this battle for third starts happening, goodbye race win chances. They're going to be fighting for third place for the rest of the race.
Yeah, certainly. And, only 15 minutes in, of course, closer to 2 minutes than 1 in terms of lap time, so we'll be on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of the amount of laps we get done today. It should be around about 30-ish, 31, 32, and pit stop window will probably open in a few minutes too. I believe it's about a 40-minute run they can get on a tank. But look at this from Modoff to the rear bumper to the right-hand side of Abner Acosta, side by side down the back straightaway, and Modoff goes through into the bus stop. A very easy textbook move pulled from Carl Modoff to take the lead away, and Abner Acosta now staring at his rear bumper.
Yeah, and the run that Modoff got last lap, I almost wonder if he figured out, hey, I'm actually going quite a bit fast here. I have a bit of speed, because obviously what Acosta can start doing now is saving fuel behind Modoff. But what Modoff can start doing is trying to break the draft, break the slipstream from Acosta, because right now he does seem very fast. So Carl Modoff will be trying to get through these corners as quick as he can to get that 5 car, get rid of him. But at the same time, he's probably honestly not going to do that, because they're almost back out around to the front straight, and then Abner Costa will get to play that game. He'll get to go down the back straight and see what kind of runs he can get on Modoff, and maybe even save fuel, and maybe things could turn back into our champion's favour when in a couple of laps.
Battle for 11th looking very juicy as well. If we go back there, Jean-Marc Tremblay. In fact, maybe even P10 battle, because Billy Anson's... Billy Anson's just got by Jean-Marc Tremblay. Tyler DeZube with an issue just in front of him, slow out of the final corner down the main straight. So Lowendyke goes by him, and Billy Anson tried to go by. And so this is really a battle for P9 now, with all of these guys lined up, all the way back to P15 to Ken Huber. With any moves going to be made down this back straightaway then. I think Tyler DeZube is going to be under a bit of pressure from Billy Anson. As they head down the back straight, what's Jansen going to do here? He's going to go to the inside. Will he have enough of a run to get the move done? Side by side through the bus stop. That's not a very low-risk move, very high-risk move that, but they've managed to do it very nicely. And Jansen's going to take it away in the outer loop, as behind them, Jean-Marc Tremblay having to defend from Sean Romig, Christopher Pfeffer trying to get up the inside of Romig now. They're going to go side by side through turn 6. And unfortunately for Pfeffer, it's going to be the inside run, the better line for Sean Romig, who's thinking about a move on Tremblay. This is a very close battle, as now the run comes out the outside of the corner for Pfeffer. Again on the wrong side of the track though. He's just been caught on the outside for a number of corners now, trying to sweep around the outside of him. A little bit difficult to do when you've got a car right up in front of you where Jean-Marc Tremblay is. But I tell you what, Pfeffer's done a fantastic job to complete that move.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think anyone working for Ford needs to get some photos of these guys right now, because there's a lot of Ford GTs in this scrap going on, and right now they're all in one piece, although not for how much longer, I don't know. What's worth noting about that, you mentioned Tyler DeZube going the wrong direction. He started all the way back in 6th place, so yeah, this is definitely why he's trying to race defensively and stop the bleeding. He doesn't want to go much outside the top 10, but unfortunately that's where he's heading.
Big gap back to 16th after this battle. It's about 7 seconds separating them, as they're side by side through the S's now. And this is Jean-Marc Tremblay trying to go to the inside of Zuzube, and now Pfeffer finding any gap he can get. 3 wide down the back straightaway, and almost contact between Zuzube and Pfeffer. Zuzube very deep into the bus stop. I don't know how there was no cars hitting the fence there, because I think about 3 pieces of contact were made between the 4 or 5 cars in that little group. No one going off track. Zuzube into the side of Tremblay, and around they both go in front of a number of cars. Ken Huber lands on his roof, and on
there's
top
another pack coming. Another
pack coming. And they've cleared it, and that was a very, very awkward spot for those drivers to beat. Zuzube pulls his car to the outside of the track, and I dare say we're going to tow back to pit lane. Take a look at this replay from on board with Ken Huber.
Yeah, well, Pfeffer made some aggressive moves down the front straight on all these guys, and they paid off for him, because he was in front of this bomb when it went off, basically. Pretty much everyone left in the pack ended up with a damaged car. So, as I mentioned, all the 4 GTE executives got a photo on the previous lap, because things looked a lot uglier that way around. So that's going to move everyone running about 15th on back up about 3 or 4 positions. So that'll be a nice little thing that they'll all pocket. And also it allows Christopher Pfeffer to finally get some breathing room, because he hadn't been able to really do anything all race. And now he's running in 11th place on his own. Let's see what he can do.
Up front, Modolf had initially started to pull away from Acosta, but that advantage was swung back in favour of Abner in the number 5. And he's very close. If we can stay this close to him, by the time they get to the S's and they run up the back straight, he could be close enough for a move into the bus stop, which apparently has been a very popular move today, despite it being probably the most high-risk opportunity on the entire track.
Yeah, these drivers have been doing a good job of minding their P's and Q's. Really, the pile-up we saw last lap was really the first calamity that I've caught. I mean, we've seen some minor issues beforehand, but right now we still have 25 or so cars running on the lead lap. We're going to have to wait for timing and scoring update a little bit with any cars that just took a tow to the pits. But as you mentioned, the top 2 running on their own, 3rd and 4th running on their own. And it'll be interesting to see how that battle unfolds later, because Justin Ream has definitely been saving fuel behind Horatio Calkin.
100% he has, and that might allow him to undercut Calkin in the pit stop phase, which should open in about a couple minutes now. And they'll be able to get home to the end. Of course, the strategy in GT machinery often involves going as long as you can, because the tyres on the car don't wear out very much at all over the course of a 1-hour race. Such is the downforce that these machines have. And so the longer you go, the less fuel in the car. The less fuel, the lighter the car is. And so in theory, it goes quicker, which means you want to run that car as light as possible for as long as possible. So run it as long as you can, almost run the tank dry, and fill it up with as minimal amount of fuel as possible. Whereas if you pit at the start of the race, or about now, you've still got plenty of fuel in the tank, as we see side by side on screen. You'll have plenty of fuel in the tank, and then you're going to be putting even more in it, and then you'll only just about get down to a very light race car at the very end of the race. So it probably not a good strategy to pit early.
Yeah, and we're watching a great battle here. Caleb John Lavender really threw it in on the inner loop there. It looked like that he was going to have contact with Ignacio Hotel for 7th place, but that wasn't to be the case, unfortunately, for Caleb. He didn't get his move complete. The other reason I always like going on in races like this, Ryan, is because you never know if you pit early what you're going to come out into when you come out in the middle of a field. The racing up front typically tends to be a little bit more calmer, a little more spread out than what we see from 10th to 20th place or so. And I think we're definitely seeing some of that now. This is 17th, 18th and 19th we saw just change hands, with Brett Thurman dropping back a little bit. So you know, if you're up front, you're having a quiet race, you don't have a whole lot of traffic, why not just stay out and enjoy the ride while it lasts.
Sean Hamel and David Duino, of course, both getting by Brett Thurman there. And now De Hamel's going to come under pressure from Duino as they head down into turn number 1. There's a car in pit lane. That's he's got Mark Tremblay, who we know has got damage from his involvement in the earlier incident. He pits from about P number 17, 16, and probably will get a bit of damage repaired on that machine before he heads back out onto the racetrack as Duino and De Hamel race down this back straight. And De Hamel's got a pretty good margin here to fend him off. Won't come under pressure into the bus stop.
Acosta's going back for the lead. He's going so much faster through the twistier parts.
Side by side.
Yeah, I feel that he feels he's getting held up by Cole Modoff throughout most of the course of the lap. So I think what we're seeing here is clarification that Cole Modoff might have a faster top speed car, but Abner Acosta seems to be getting through these turns a lot better, and he says, okay, I want position 1 back. It's not happening yet, but now the cat's out the bag. Cole Modoff knows he's not safe in the lead forever.
So it heats up at front once more. Abner Acosta wants to close his championship season with a win at the Watkins Glen International Circuit. And in this situation, it may be beneficial for Acosta to come into the pits early and hope he comes out in clean air. Maybe he's got some sort of tell him where he's going to come out. If he knows he's going to come out in clean air, maybe he'll opt for that, because he's definitely being held up by Modoff here. Here we go, he's got a very good run down the back straight, doesn't go for the move. Too high risk into the bus stop, but into the outer loop and then through into 5, 6, 7, 8. That sounds like the start to a pop song. Acosta might be able to make a move stick, but Modoff very strong through there.
I don't know if that pop song ever took off in the US, but I think I know what one you're talking about. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're talking about the Modoff Costa battles. We've got another battle on screen right now. Looks like, yeah, so this is Christopher Pfeffer, who's got by Billy Dranson. So Christopher Pfeffer, as we mentioned, started 13th, thought he would have made better work of a field by this point, and he's only made his way up to 10th so far. I think Acosta, the ball's still in his court, even if he is getting held up by Cole Modoff right now. He's been around the block. He knows what this game is about, and I have a feeling he's gonna be doing all those fuel calculations. Modoff, likewise, they're both going to come in and take the least amount of fuel that they think they can get away with, and hopefully we'll see this battle between those two continue all the way to the checkered flag.
And of course, an 8-second margin back to third as well, so that is becoming increasingly more comfortable for the race leaders at the moment, as Modoff just opened up a little bit on that last lap over Acosta as we continue to watch this battle a little bit further down the order. And this is P3, Horatio Calquin and Just Rem through the bus stop. Calquin opening it up some more. I think Rem is definitely being patient at the moment. Similar to Abner Acosta, probably got the pace right now, unlike Acosta hasn't gone for a move just yet and shown his hand. But certainly the draft at least helping him to stay within range. And the other thing too, it is a Ferrari versus a Porsche. Different strengths and weaknesses for these two drivers. There's further back in the field, there's an issue for Tyler Zube, who looks to be going slowly on the racetrack. Take a look at the replay here. What's unfolded, Sam?
We'll find out exactly what happened here. He's running all on his own on the replay. Oh, it got too wide exit in turn one. Easy to do. There's multiple racing lines through turn one. Very few of them don't work, but that one did not. So, 2468 Motorway was a song by the Tom Robinson Band. It made it to number 5 in the UK. I'm just reading Wikipedia right now. I don't know if it ever became a hit in the US. Oh, what happened here? You almost had another moment there. You don't want to run on the grass there.
You know, I don't think that's actually the song that I had in my head. It's a different song, I think. I'm not going to attempt to hum or do anything to know what song it is, because I'm not embarrassing myself like that, as the leaders will give us a nice change of topic to get away from that, as Abner Acosta closes right up to the rear bumper of Karl Modolf.
Oh!
Almost thinks about a move to the inside and the outer loop, but Modolf shuts that door firmly. Modolf's up for the fight here. He does not want to relinquish this race lead.
Yeah, I thought Acosta was just saving fuel, and then he pokes his nose down the inside of a carousel, which was a bit of an ambitious move, but as soon as Modolf made it clear that he wasn't going to give him that door, Acosta realised, okay, I'll stay back here. But yeah, okay, so here we go. Acosta's going to have a bit of a run up this hill. This is where he tried to make the move before, and he's going to do it again. He definitely feels faster in this part of the circuit. He's going to pull alongside Modolf. He's not quite going to be able to close the door, and this isn't the turn you want to be on the outside for, because the turn is so off camber. It's the most annoying turn on the circuit, but right now Karl Modolf loves it because it's giving him a chance to fight back.
Door to door on the approach to the penultimate corner, not making contact though. Perfect amount of racing room being given, a lot of respect being shown between these two drivers as they complete their 15th lap, head on to lap number 16, and it's still Modolf holding that race lead from Acosta down at turn number 1. No look there from Acosta, happy to sit in behind Modolf and try and use the slipstream to make a move work into the back straight onto the bus stop as he starts to close through the S's now, and going to get ever closer to the rear bumper of Karl Modolf's machine. Is Modolf going to defend? No, he's not, because here comes Acosta. Gets to his inside. Has he got enough of an overlap? Modolf does not want to go side by side through there. Jumps on the brakes a little bit early and allows Acosta through. Has he got anything left in the tank to come back at Acosta?
Yeah, so interesting. Acosta seemed like he didn't ever want to risk making a move in the inner loop, but then he realized, okay, nothing else is working. This is what he's going to have to do if he wants to get the lead. But there's it all for naught, because now it's Karl Modolf. Whoa, a lot late under brakes there. That's where I had a crash last year in the Lionheart IndyCar Series when we all got our braking ROM down into that corner. Where was I going with this? Yeah, has he just gave the strategy back into the favour of Karl Modolf? Because now Karl's going to be able to have a slipstream, and finally the sun comes out. And we'll wait and see how that affects this race if the track starts to warm up.
I was just thinking the track looked a little bit brighter out there. The track conditions up to 29 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So up 1 from the start of this race. And won't be making too much of a difference, but certainly the track beating on the circuit as Acosta runs wide at the final corner will be making a difference. Modolf gets the look, gets the nose down to the inside of Acosta into turn 1. Acosta late on the brakes, trying to swoop around the outside, but Modolf, the better of the runs, out of the first corner. Can Acosta stay side by side through the S's? No, he can't. No, he won't. Tucks back in, but he's going to get the slipstream now down this back straight, and Modolf's going to be under pressure once more. Is he going to defend this time? Drives it down the middle of the racetrack. Acosta having to go the long way round, side by side again into the bus stop. Modolf comes out on top this time. This is a fantastic battle.
Yeah, and there's really 3 reasons this battle is going on, and they all can be traced back to they've got nothing to lose. Karl Modolf, if he is just experimenting to see what the BMW will do next season, there's not much you can learn in just laying off a throttle. Go out there, race it, see what it can do, see what it's, see if it's easy to defend, if it's easy to pass, etc., etc. Race it. Acosta's got nothing to lose. If he crashes, he just gets to celebrate his championship a little bit earlier. And race-wise, they've got 10 seconds of free time to play with. Neither of them are going to finish third. These two are either going to finish 1, 2, or 23rd and 24th. So, they can afford to play out here. They're having a fun time, and we're having a fun time watching them. And we're going to be interrupted in about 10 minutes with a pit stop for them both, and we'll see what happens then if they're both still running at that point.
Back in the battle for P3. Still Horatio Calquin fending off Justin Wren. We ticked basically on to the halfway point of this race. that's halfway, signal the time to go for Justin Rem. I think the battle for the race win is gone for these two drivers, 9.8 off that. Little tussle up front. It has actually just stemmed a little bit, the increase in gap, thanks to Modoff and Acosta going side by side, but still almost an insurmountable margin for these two drivers as Rem very close here, and Kalkwin drives it down the right-hand side of the track and moves it back to the racing line. Got to be careful, making sure it doesn't move too many times down the straight. I think that's pretty much in the rules. Right on the limit as he moves it back and holds on for now. Justin Rem will be starting to think about the pit stops, how much fuel he's going to put in the car, how much is he saved riding the slipstream of Horatio Kalkwin for the last 18 laps.
I always like to think of this like a chess game with Bobby Fischer taking over from me. If I'm losing a game or something, how bad can I be losing a game? And Bobby Fischer it picks up my pieces in the middle of a game and then still able to win it, you know, or something like that. The point I'm getting to there is, what can Kalkin and Ream do from back in third place? If all of a sudden Cole Modoff or Abner Costa get in their car, could they run the top two down from 10 seconds back? How much of a lost cause is it really? I will tell you this, Modoff has definitely pulled away from Acosta and maintained that gap over the last lap. If Modoff is legitimately faster, he needs to string just a couple more laps together and he will be able to break that slipstream.
Most certainly, he's looking very good right now. Traffic in front of him from James LeBlond. This will actually help him. It'll give him a bit of slipstream down the back straight, and he'll tuck out and go by him in a straight line. Won't be hindered at all. And LeBlond, very good, will get out of the way of Acosta as well. Plays no part in changing any dynamic in the battle for the lead. Very good heads-up driving from him, obeying the blue flags, as you should. And Acosta will just want to close his margin a little bit, because he's got to be careful. If he does make a mistake now, he will allow Modoff to break the slipstream.
I don't know if Ignacio Hotel had hit the wall or anything, but he came into the pits at the end of last lap and then just disconnected. He drove his car into the pits. He had been running in the top 10. I don't know if he'd had to graze with the wall or if he wasn't pleased with how his races was going, but looks like enough is enough, and unfortunately that's the last we're going to see of Ignacio Hotel this race, and that's going to move Billy Jansen up into the top 10.
Battle for 14th place, which is James Hebb, has just been overtaken by Sean Tehamel, and David Duino is just behind them. We'll see how that move unfolded, but that means Tehamel's put quite a bit of a buffer between himself and Duino since we last saw these two on the track. He's now got a car in between them, and about 15 or so car lengths as well. So Tehamel's been fighting some pretty decent mid-race pace here, and that missing front bumper for James Hebb probably hindering him just a little bit, as you would expect.
Yeah, especially with him not slipstreaming anyone right now. We'll get a replay of oh, that's a very wide line to be taken through the carousel. We'll get a replay of exactly what happened here.
In the bus stop, and just runs wide, goes through, and Duino unlucky not to make his way through at that particular moment in time. That's why he ran wide on the exit of the outer loop.
Well, partly thanks to lap traffic, I think, Modoff has not been able to break away from Acosta, and Acosta's running right back down, and will... Oh dear! This wasn't as clear as last lap.
James Hebb lost it through the bus stop, couldn't hold onto it, and David Duino nowhere to go. I think he got under the side of him before making his way into the fence as well. the replay will show this from above as James Hebb just went a little bit too deep into the bus stop, lost the rear stability in that car. And David Duino, not really anywhere he could go, into the side of him, and puts him out into the fence and damage to both cars.
And that's unfortunately going to do the day in for James Hebb, who it was actually one of our biggest movers out there. He started in 26, was all the way up to 15th place. And obviously that's going to push him back down to about 26 and out of today's season finale here at Watkins Glen.
As pit stops now are in full effect, Horatio Calquin has completed his service and will rejoin in about 13th position on the track. I think 4 minutes left before the cars run out of fuel, and we will have seen everyone come down into pit lane. Will Acosta and Modoff come down in tandem?
Well,
they split their laps?
They're tandeming right now. Look how close they are. Acosta's all over the back of Modoff once again, when a few laps ago it looked like Modoff might have had the opportunity to break a draft. The problem with them coming down in tandem is things could get quite tight on pit entry between them. Hopefully there's not any contact if we do see them coming on the same lap. I think they've both been doing a pretty good job at saving fuel when they've been in second, so I think we're not going to see them come in within the next lap or two. I think they're going to be two of our drivers who go quite deep into this one.
Yes, certainly looking like that's probably going to unfold here as they stay out for another lap. Abner Acosta last time by at 1 minute 42.907. Carl Modoff, wow. Carl Modoff also did a 1 minute 42.907. So no one can say that these two aren't very evenly matched on pace. Exactly the same lap time last time around.
Yeah, which just means Acosta can't find a way to get any closer to Modoff's rear bumper right now.
Although he closes up a little bit on this lap, courtesy of the draft. And a lapped car in front of these guys. Kenny Rodriguez running around in 22nd. Billy Jansen 19th. And Spencer Semkowicz in 18th too. So might just take a little bit of air away from the front of Carl Modoff's machine and give him a little bit of understeer through the corner as he gets out of the way of both drivers. There's Kenny Rodriguez, and they go through into turn 9. Will we see them pit this lap? 22 minutes left on the clock. As looking at those lap cars, I wonder if Carl Modoff will be incentivized to come down to pit lane just to avoid having to get by them.
There's a possibility. The drivers running midfield, a lot of them are coming into the pits now. It's actually getting quite busy down there. Gary Schilling's in right now. Donald Olsen is in right now. And here comes Modoff. So they are running different strategies. This also shows us potentially that Acosta might have done a bit of a better job of saving fuel than Modoff, and thus he won't need to take as much fuel. Has Acosta's championship run, shorter way of saying that, is he showing why he's champion again today with a good strategy play?
Well, let's see how far apart these two are once Acosta makes his pit stop. No mistakes for Modoff. He jumps on the throttle and comes out in a sea of fresh air right in front of Sean Romig, who has yet to make his pit stop. So no pressure from him. And let's see then, where's Abner Acosta on the track? He's heading through. Justin Rem hasn't pitted either in his battle for Horatio Calquin, so that's another driver to watch out for. Abner Acosta is heading towards turn number 8 now.
Yeah, but more importantly here for Acosta is he does not want to get held up by Jansen. A lap car didn't mean a whole lot when him and Carl were running together, but now all of a sudden, if Carl's exited the pits in clean air and he gets held up behind Billy Jansen, that's going to swing things into Carl Modoff's favour. So if I was Abner Acosta, I would come into the pits right now and hope Billy Jansen doesn't have the same idea.
Here he goes into pit lane. This is the race lead right here with Abner Acosta. Can he overcut, or can Modolf extend the undercut? Are they going to come out side by side? Now that would be incredibly exciting on the run up through the S's. Pit stop time for Carl Modolf was 13.583 seconds, so reasonably quick in the lane for 36.8 as Acosta moves into his #1 pit stall.
Yeah, and that might hurt Acosta a little bit. He will not be carrying that much speed up the hill. Even if he gets dropped down off off the tracks quickly, Carl Modolf will have a lot more speed coming through the turn 1. And here we go. Modolf is far ahead.
Modolf jumps him by a long way. The pit stop for Acosta was quicker, a 13.117. The lane time was quicker by 9/10 of a second. So the outlap for Modolf was sensational. Found a lot of time in the outlap alone.
Well, it could have been that. I also felt that Acosta was very conservative, slowing down into the pits. It looked like he wasn't carrying a whole lot of speed out of a final turn. I wonder if that's what cost him.
Well, let's see whether Acosta will be a bit more aggressive and be able to get back up to the rear end of Carl Modolf's machine. He's not in substreaming range anymore, so he's going to have to use the full pace of that car to get this done. The gap
this is Pfeffer. Sorry, we have a nice little battle between Christopher Pfeffer and Caleb John Lavender on the screen there.
And believe that Christopher Pfeffer just came out of pit lane right in front of Caleb John Lavender, and did a good job to hold him off through the inner loop. Now starting to build a little bit more of a margin and a comfortable buffer back to him. And the gap sits about 3/10 now.
Yeah, Pfeffer obviously, I think I've mentioned it a few times during this broadcast, but I expected him to be carving his way through the field a lot quicker than what he has been. He was up to 8th before this round of stops started. I expect him to get about 6th or 5th maybe by the time this is all done, but I think he would have hoped for a bit more of that at the start of today.
Justin Ram as well, running around in 3rd place, in front of Horatio Carquin by 3 seconds. He has done a sensational job in pit lane, because he has jumped Carquin by an absolute mile.
Yeah, and Calkin is actually under pressure from Andres Espinosa now for 4th. I think Calkin was one of our first drivers to come into the pit, so I almost wonder if he ran into traffic on pit exit, and that's what kind of held him up. Whatever the case, Justin Ream has a couple of seconds over Calkin, and looks like he's got a pretty nice 3rd place tied down right now.
All he has to do is come home with no mistakes, which is easier said than done. 1.2 seconds is the margin then between Modolf and Acosta when they came across the line. It already looks a little bit closer as they head through turn 9 now. So I think Acosta's got the pace. Has he got enough time to catch him and then get by him? Because of course you can catch someone very easily going past them. Well, that's a whole new story, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, but it's at time of a race where I'm always taking a look down the order to see who our big movers have been. We have several cars out there who have gained 12 positions today. Jeff Carullo, 24th to 12th. Spencer Semkowicz has gone from 28th to 16th. And Gary Schilling, 30th to 18th. As well as... No, that's it.
Well, they're the drivers that have done a sensational job of passing people then. And there's still a little bit of time left on the clock for them to gain some more time, or some more places even, on the racetrack. As Acosta is closing again on Carl Modolf. On the cross line, it was 0.8 of a second, the gap. And now, visibly, he's within substreaming range as well.
I think this is one more pass we might see today, Ryan. Now, here's the thing. Even though I expect Abner Costa will get by Cole Modoff at some point, I also think Cole Modoff will pass him right back. These two drivers have nothing to lose. They have 13 seconds of clean air behind them. I think we're about to see a very entertaining final 10 minutes between these two drivers.
100%. This is going to be a fantastic conclusion to Season 1, 2020 of the PRL GTE Sports Car season. And if you do want to get involved in Season 2, registrations are open for that, I do believe. If you head to the Precision Racing League social media sites to find the link to sign-ups, and I do not see this series slowing down at all. It's a fantastic series. It's a fantastic racing being put on week in and week out. And this is definitely been a season finale to live up to the season that has been.
All right, and we're about to find out just how exciting it will be. Acosta doesn't have a good enough run on Modoff this lap. But we've already seen, well, first off, we got the lap car of James LeBlanc coming up. And secondly, we've seen already this race that Acosta is not afraid to make moves around the circuit that other drivers haven't attempted, particularly coming out of the bottom of the hill here through the boot section. So Acosta, as Carl Modoff uses up all the track, you can only do that so many times before you get 20 incident points and you get booted. Acosta has been very good this race at getting a good run out of the exit of the boot right there. And as I say that, I don't think he did it this lap, so I think Modoff will be safe for a few more corners as they've got to deal with a bit of lap traffic here, and then the battle should resume.
Acosta is within striking range now. By the time they get to the bus stop, I think he's going to have the run to get it done. James LeBlanc just in front of these guys. LeBlanc only in lap once. He got out of the way very nicely for Modoff, and Acosta, I dare say, we'll see the same happen down this main straight. Won't hold them up at all as they come around to complete the 27th lap of the race. Modoff trying to get some sort of slipstream off LeBlanc. Acosta follows suit as they run down into turn 1 through the corner. The exit crucial for Modoff. He needs to launch off there well. Got off there pretty nicely. He's got to keep the momentum up now through the S's and get to full throttle as early as possible. I believe as the run wears on, you can't quite go full throttle through there the whole time. As we head down the back straight, is Acosta close enough? Modoff hasn't bothered to defend. Acosta's not close enough this time by. But he's right there on his rear bumper as they go through the bus stop. And Acosta missed his line by a little bit. Too shallow through the first stage of the complex. Cost him on the exit.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you cut the car behind, even if you don't have the downforce taken off your front end, it can be hard just to see your marks because there's another car in front of you, and Acosta was a tiny bit off there and it cost him a little bit. The good news for him is we still have over 10 minutes of this race left to go. Once again, Acosta not able to get a good launch out of the bottom of a boot, but this time they don't have any lap traffic to deal with, and Acosta can just worry about setting Modoff up without any obstacles and try again down the front straight. Because unfortunately for Modoff, I got to believe with the way in which Acosta ran Modoff down after the pit stops, remember there was a substantial gap between them. It looks like Acosta does have the faster car right now.
Using all of the available racetrack. No margin for error for those drivers coming out of that final corner, running it right up against the tyre bundle. And Acosta is closer to turn 1 than he was last time by. Modoff surely is going to fight for this race win and will defend for the right to win this race. He's going to have to defend because Acosta is right there as they launch out of the S's, and Modoff drives the car to the left-hand side of the track. Not going to defend. Acosta's going to go to the inside. Modoff's going to let him go. And Acosta goes through into the race leaders. Modoff going to come back at him as Acosta goes too deep into the bus stop. Modoff had to check up to avoid getting in his rear bumper through there. And that's interesting.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little bit of a touch there. I think Modov rolled out of it because he realised he was a sitting duck. There was no point in defending. It's not the final lap. So, you know, just get your bearings, make sure your cars are still in one piece. We'll find out if there was a bit of contact here on the exit. I really think we need the onboard on Modov's car. Here we go. Yeah, there was. Our director, yeah, okay.
It was very close. It was very close either way. About a couple stacks of paper in between them. Acosta hasn't gapped him on this lap. I'll tell you that much. Modov's still there if he can maintain this gap by the time they get to the back straight. I mean, I feel like it was 10 minutes ago he could have defended the move. If he just got to the inside of the track for the bus stop, Acosta wouldn't be able to go around the outside for that. And so he wouldn't have been a sitting duck, but when you offer up the inside like that, there's nothing Modov can do to defend that. So an interesting choice for Modov not to defend the race lead. And we'll see whether there's a reason behind it, whether he can claw his way back up to Acosta. Maybe he feels he's got the pace if he's got the slipstream.
Yeah, well, the scary thing for Modov here is how much Acosta was able to pull away during that lap. Now, Modov's going to be able to run him right back down now because these BMWs are so big. I don't think a setup really matters here, that the car in second place is able to get a nice slipstream either way. It looked like Modov backed off a little bit there. He knew he wasn't going to be able to attempt that pass there. But he can't be too conservative because Acosta, I think, has proven that he's faster. He was able to run Modov down from a couple seconds back after their pit stops. And you might be right, Ryan. I thought that Modov was going to be able to let Acosta by and then mount a counter-attack. But the reality of the situation is, I think Acosta's faster, and right now, Modov, I think, has got to be a little bit worried. He's got to make sure that he doesn't let that number 5 car get too far out in front.
The liftoff made sense there because he wasn't going to be close enough to mount a challenge. He lifted off too much. He could have run through the bus stop, on the bumper of Acosta, or just, a couple meters off the back of him. Instead, he went through there a long way behind him. And that created a much bigger gap than was necessary through the outer loop, and Modov struggling to close it back down in the last half of the circuit. And it's an interesting one. We'll get to talk to Modov after this race, barring any disaster for him. He's running around in P2. And we'll make sure we ask him then what the mindset is here. Maybe he is thinking about the championship and not sure how the picture looks for Abner Acosta and doesn't want to accidentally influence it in any way with a piece of contact.
Yeah, but that wasn't crossing his mind earlier in the race. They were going down that hammer and tongs there. But yeah, right now it almost seems that there have been a couple of conservative moves from Karl Modov, which I don't think we've seen any conservative moves so far this race. And it's surprising that they're coming into play this late when everything's heating up.
Back in P4. Here comes Andre Espinosa. Horatio Kalkin running P3 for the whole first stint of this race, but now going to come under pressure of going back to P5 on the defence into the bus stop, late on the brakes, and dives ahead of Espinosa, who's definitely got the pace and has slide on the exit as well for Horatio Kalkin, who's definitely struggling just a little bit for some grip and for some outright pace at the moment, trying to hold on to a top 4 position. And Andre Espinosa, last time by, took 0.2 of a second out of the margin between them. And now there's not really any margin at all.
Yeah, Horatio Kalkin, who was looking like he was in the battle for 3rd and 4th earlier, well, all of a sudden he's might drop all the way back to 5th place. So this isn't the ending to the race that he wanted. And as you mentioned, he's on the defensive and sliding around a little bit. That's not a good combination.
Certainly not. Done a good job through the tight and twisty section of this track to open up a little bit of a margin, a little bit of breathing room to potentially give them something to fight with by the time they get through to the back straight on the bus stop at the inner loop. So it's officially called. As they come across the start-finish stripe, 6 minutes on the clock, so just under 3 laps, or probably on 3 laps to go for these drivers then. As this battle is 21 seconds off the lead of the race, which is... oh no, Acosta
he's
through the
bent
bus
it.
stop, off the track, cuts through, Modov goes wide and gets out into the grass as well. Acosta surely has a slowdown from that. Modov back to the lead of the race. Gonna have to get a replay up of how that
Yeah, what was that
initially
about?
unfolded, because I had a look at the standings and Modov was only 7/10 off when they came across the line. So I went to go back there, and suddenly all hell broke loose through the corner. He's a long way back down this back straight, and Acosta, he must have just made a mistake and gone too deep.
Well, Modov absolutely threw it into the inner loop. I think it was a combination. I think Modov was way too aggressive, and at the same time, Acosta made a mistake. We had two completely different, unrelated things going on there.
I think Acosta was too conservative. I don't think Modov was too aggressive at all. He was making that corner every day of the week, but Acosta was so slow in front of him, and he had to take evasive action to not get into the side of him, just run off the exit of the track on the outside, and managed to complete the move. I think Acosta, if he did have a slowdown, managed to clear it pretty discreetly, and it's back on then as I come across the start-finish straight, 4 minutes 40 on the clock. So now it'll be 3 laps to go, I believe, unless I've just failed to do basic Year 1 level math there. As Karl Modov comes out of the first corner. The first corner is very interesting to watch. They use all of the available racetrack, only just get the car back onto the racing surface before that grass comes up on them in a hurry. Modov then trying to shake the draft down the back straight, exited on the right-hand side of the track, ducked to the left, but Acosta closes through the bus stop. No mistakes this time, please, for these two drivers. They're both thinking, and they get through there nicely. Acosta's got the pace, it seems. Surprised that he hadn't been able to open up a bigger gap, because it really looks like he's got the pace when he's behind him, but when he gets in front, he just seems to be able to open up a commanding lead.
Well, I think he was holding a pretty handy lead. Like Modov was still within drafting range of him, but I don't think he was pressuring him much. Acosta looked pretty comfortable for the win, to be honest, in my books. Honestly, I'm under the impression that Acosta just got bored and he wanted to make a mistake, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. No, it was a legitimate mistake, but either way, I'm sure he'll welcome the opportunity at trying to pass Modov and showing him who's boss again. My math is coming out the same as yours. I think we're about to hit 2 laps to go at the line.
And our director Joe Pete confirms it, so if it is 1 lap to go, which
Oh, don't trust him with math.
If we get the 2 laps to go thing wrong, we're all going back to school. As I come across the stripe, 2 to go, the advantage at the line, 0.4 of a second, almost half a second then. But that is not comfortable by any stretch of the imagination, because Acosta's going to close down this back straightaway. Through the S's, Modov runs a little wide through the first stage, gets it back to the inside, to the apron very nicely. And he's going to be very close at the end of the back straight here. I think Modov's got just enough of an advantage. And already looking for racing than he did earlier on. Trying to shake the draft down the back straight through the bus stop for the penultimate time today. And Acosta, so strong through there, almost gets to his rear bumper through the outer loop. Can't get there though.
Yeah, well, Acosta will try anything. I think he is a little bit faster through the corners. That's how he's able to pull away from Modov when he is in front. That's why he's been so aggressive and creative in his passing attempts earlier this race. Let's see which one of them gets a better exit here, because they're definitely coming up to a good passing opportunity, but Acosta doesn't have anything. So Modov will hold on to the lead for now, and more than likely will lead at the start of the final lap. When does Acosta make his move after that? He might even choose to make it into turn 1.
Well, here we go then. Coming through turns 10 and then into turn 11. They'll come across the start-finish line. They will see the white flag on their screen. As Modov runs a bit wide in the final corner, going to have to defend turn 1. Acosta swoops to the outside into turn 1 for the final time. Can he outbrake him? He does, but he goes a little deep through the first corner. He runs very wide, and Modov, Acosta skates through the grass. Modov gets back to the lead. Through the S's they go. Up through the concrete or metal canyon as they make their way onto the back straight. Modoff glues his car to the white line on the right-hand side, the inside of the racetrack, side by side into the bus stop. Modoff edges it back to the racing line, shoots through ahead into the bus stop, and the inner loop, now into the outer loop, as Acosta got anything left. Not many opportunities left where he could make a move, as Modoff will be looking in those rear view mirrors very closely as they go through turn 6. And now into turn 7, Modoff not going to have to defend this corner. Acosta's going to set up these next couple of corners perfectly to have any chance of getting there as Modoff runs a little wide on the entry. Acosta almost into the back of him as they head down the chute into turn 8. Modoff trying to shake the jar, snaking across the track into the 8th corner of the track, and now into the super tricky turn 9. Get through here, and Modoff should be home and dry. Don't make a mistake. Acosta trying to set up for the run out of the corner, but it's Modoff by about a car length and a half through the penultimate corner for the final time today, and through the final turn, Carl Modoff's going to hang on, and he's going to win the final round of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. But behind him, Abner Acosta, your season champion.
Yeah, and if it was for anything more than just fun, I think Acosta would be kicking himself for that. Not only for, as we see Justin Reen getting 3rd place, not only for losing the lead, but I just feel he needed to try and set him up a little bit better, exiting the boot section as Kalkin gets 4th, as Espinosa gets 5th. And I think that's really what ended up costing him an opportunity at trying to pass Modoff back for the lead. Pisano 7th, Pfeffer comes home to finish 8th, Lavender 9th, Pfeffer 7th, Lavender 8th, Lowendick 9th, and the drivers celebrating after the finish line. Sean Romick going to round out the top 10, but as we got one more battle on screen here. But I feel we're going to talk to a couple of happy drivers at the end there, Ryan. Will Acosta be bummed he didn't win that race and that he made a mistake? Yeah, probably a little bit, but you know what? He's won the championship. He put on a great show for us. He drove his hardest, and with Modoff in that BMW as fast as he is, that looks like we're shaping up for a good next season.
It certainly looks like Season 2 of 2020 is going to be a cracker, because Modoff performed in that BMW today as the final driver is coming across the line. We're going to go to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but stay tuned. When we come back, the results here from Watkins, Glen, and post-race interviews with our race winner and our championship winner. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International, to the final round of PRL GTE Sportscar Series. A fantastic finish to the race. Karl Modoff holding on for victory by 0.6 of a second as we go through and take a look at our race results then. And home in third behind them was Justin Ram, who drove a fantastic patient race to claim that position. Horatio Calquin did manage to hold on to P4 by 0.4 ahead of Andrea Espinosa in fifth. Anthony Pisano and Christopher Pfeffer, 6th and 7th. The top 10 was rounded out by Caleb John Lavender, who just held off Ted Lowendijk, and then Sean Romig in 10th.
Yes, and then in 11th position was Ignacio Rodriguez Verdes, ahead of Jeff Carullo, who moved up from 24th on the grid. Billy Johnson comes home in 13th, ahead of Sean Duhamel and Dave Duino, who was involved in a bit of contact in the middle of the race, but still salvaged 15th. Ted DeZube finishes in 16th. I'm sure he won't be too pleased with that after starting 6th. Spencer Semkovic started all the way back in 28th. Finishes as the last car on the lead lap in 17th. Likewise, back of a grid to a mid-pack finish for Donald Olson in 18th, as well as Gary Schilling in 19th. Rounding out our top 20 is John-Mark Tremblay.
21st was Kenny Rodriguez, Christopher Albright 22nd. These are the drivers that ran into issues in this race. Brett Thurman home in 23rd, James LeBlanc 24th, Chase Mundy, James Hebb, Ignacio Hordle, Ken Huber, Jay Steffi, and Robert Elder, the final driver in this race. As we talk to Abner Acosta, your season champion here for season 1 of 2020. Congratulations.
Hey guys, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of consistency to get to this point.
And in terms of winning the championship, obviously, you've, whatever goal you set, you obviously met it. It can't get any better. How's it feel to be the champion after 10 rounds or 10 weeks of putting in the effort and the practice to get it done, to be able to be as consistent as you were? What's the reward like for you?
It feels good. I feel like at the beginning of the season, I had, I think in the first and the third race, I had issues that I had to come from the back, and I think I finished 5th on those. So at the beginning, it wasn't going as good, and I feel like the second half is where everything just turned around. And Carl, obviously, he had bad luck in a couple of races, which helped me out get ahead and just stay there.
In terms of the race today, cracking battle all race long with Karl Modoff. The deciding factor looks to be a mistake towards the end into the bus stop. What happened there? You just ran wide, it seemed.
Yeah, I just kind of heartbreaking and just missed my braking point a little bit. I didn't know if he was saving. It was a tough race. I didn't know if he was saving fuel ahead of me or behind me. I know I was, and he still came out ahead of me. So he must have been super close in fuel. So you know, this track is you can't really get ahead because of the draft. At the beginning, I tried to get ahead, and I almost made it. I had him like I think a 10th behind me, but then when he just caught up, I just had to switch strategy and try to save fuel. But unfortunately, that mistake at the end probably cost me the race.
It did. Unfortunately, it couldn't finish it off with a win, but second place in a battle like that is nothing but seen back. Put on a fantastic show for all of us here and everyone watching at home. Looking forward to season 2. I think it's a safe bet. We're going to hopefully see you back. Is the goal to go back to back? You're confident heading into the next season?
Yeah, it's still up in the air due to my job, so I'm not sure. I hope that I'll be back. It's been 3 seasons so far, and it's really tough to race 10 weeks in a row. It starts adding up, so the goal is to be here, but right now it's undecided.
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I hope we see you back, because judging by Modoff running around on the BMW today, if he runs up next season, going to be a fantastic display between you two. And before we let you go, of course, the the floor is yours to thank the sponsors and the people that help you get it done.
So I want to thank my team, Vivano Racing, and I want to thank you guys at GSRC for always broadcasting for us, and the sponsors, SimMSA and ButtKicker, for following up every season. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Abner. And Carl Modoff is back in the interview room, so we'll drag our place skater, our race winner in here, and he's standing by with Samuel Ryman.
Yeah, first off, congratulations, Carl. A great win out there today.
Hey, what's up, Samuel? Thank you so much. Yeah, I know everyone's probably wondering why I ran the BMW. I just haven't had a ton of time to test the Ford this week, and it was kind of the end of the season. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun and compete with Abner. And I knew the BMW was really strong. It was going to be really difficult to keep up with them in the Ford. And like I said, championship was kind of over, so I just wanted to run and have a good time, and that's exactly what happened. That was a great hour. Nice back and forth, good battle. Both made some mistakes, and we both took advantage of those. Luckily, I was just in a position at the end where he made the last mistake. That really helped me out.
Yes, I already used one chess analogy today, so go the second there. The guy who wins the game of chess is the guy who makes the last mistake. The guy who loses the game of chess is the guy who makes the last mistake, and that wasn't you today. So you mentioned the BMW. Almost sounded like it's going to be a one-off for you. Are you not planning on running this next season?
I would really like to, so we'll see. I'm moving states in a couple days here, so that's why time's been limited, and it might be limited further, but I'm going to enter the season, and I'm going to do as many races as I can. And yeah, there's a new tire model rumored to be released on the GTE cars coming up here in the next week, and hopefully that changes the kind of current balance. The BMW is an awesome car to drive. All the cars, I think, are pretty equally quick, but the BMW is just a little bit easier to get to that kind of like right on the edge. So I'm looking forward to the new tire model, and if it's good and the BOP is a little more balanced, I'll probably be back running the Porsche again. Really my favorite car to drive all around, so hopefully I can come back and compete against them with that.
I want to ask you about a couple of points of a race. First off, the pit stop. You were slower in the pits. You had the slower pit stop. It almost looked to me as if you made up more time than Abner on pit entry. So I want to know your thoughts on that, on breaking late on pit entry. And also, can you take us through that moment with about 3 laps left to go when you got the lead?
Yeah, absolutely. I normally use a software that automatically calculates how much fuel I use per lap, just so I'm not trying to do the math while I'm racing. And I started it, but I guess I didn't launch the program properly. So when I came into the pit stop, I'm used to having it automatically set my fuel, my tires, and that didn't happen. So I kind of guessed on how much fuel to take. So when I came out of the pits, not an hour and a half, a second and a half ahead of Abner, I was really blown away, and I was sure that I had short filled. So I spent the next probably 5-7 laps really fuel saving, but luckily he was kind of stuck behind me, so I didn't lose too much position to him then. But yeah, I think I just really nailed that pit entry. It's really tricky because you're really trying to carry maximum speed to the final corner, and I just kind of nailed it. So sometimes you're a little short. You don't never want to be passed. It was just perfect, thankfully. And when he got by me, and then when he went kind of a little deep into the bus stop and got a little bit squirrely in the middle, and I had a huge run on him, but at the same time, it's really hard. You're fully loaded in there, so I was able to kind of slow the car down enough not to run into him, and then driving off the outside of the track into the grass, I thought he was going to for sure take it back, but I don't know if he slowed down for me or if it just kind of had a bad exit. But yeah, really good fun. I didn't want to have any strategy, just kind of back and forth fun racing, and that's what happened. That was awesome.
All right, we got enough time for one more question, Carl. So I've got 2 questions, and you can choose which one you want to answer. Who are the people that make this happen for you that you'd like to thank? Or the alternate question is, have you ever heard the song 2468 Motorway by the Tom Robinson Band?
I can't say that I've ever heard the 246 Motorway. But I would like to just thank Evolution SimSports. We've changed our name to Delta Force. It's a new team name due to a conflicting name with an established team. So we're going to have a new design, new team name. So those guys really helped me out. And then also just ButtKicker for supplying an awesome award for the championship. It's really cool for them just to be giving away product. And then Precision Racing League, GSRC, and everyone involved in making this happen. Thanks a lot, guys, and hope to see you next season.
And that was our race winner, Carl Modoff.
Well, I believe with that, we can now look at wrapping up today's broadcast. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, of course, to the sponsors, SimMSA and ButtKicker, for helping to make this race happen. Without them, none of this would be possible. And of course, the organised Precision Racing League. Most certainly without them, this would not happen. And thanks to the companies as well that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, which are listed here on your screen. And of course, thanks to Julian Londe, who provides wonderful music. You can see the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Joe and Sam. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find it at our website at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media at Twitter at GSRC Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support the channel, go and check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. That link in the description below. Don't forget to head on over to YouTube and whack that subscribe button as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race for this series will be Season 2, 2020, in a few weeks' time. We've got upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so make sure you check those out, mark them down in your calendar. From all of us here on the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.